Location: North Webster, in, USA. Shape: other duration: 2 minutes. No of observers. 50 characteristics. Lights on object. The following is a correction and addition to a report filed 3 days ago. I discovered I had the direction of travel of the craft incorrectly stated in the original report. It was going east, not west. I'm also adding the final paragraph, which describes in corroboration from another location on the same night, only minutes after my sighting. On Saturday nights, I sing on board the historic Dixie, Indiana's oldest paddle wheel tour boat on Webster Lake in North Webster, Indiana. Weather permitting, I perform on the top deck of the boat, which is uncovered. We have a clear, unobstructed view up there of the night sky. On September 14th 10, sick. The 4th of September 10, the sky was mostly clear with a few light clouds here and there. The sky was a sea of stars and there was no moon. The day had been windy, but by our 9 p.m. departure time, it was very calm on the lake. At about 10 p.m., we were emerging from a bay in the southeast corner of the 600-acre lake and were traveling west at about 5 miles per hour on the last leg of our tour. I was just finishing a song when the captain of the boat tapped me on the shoulder and pointed into the night sky directly above the boat, calling my attention to a very strange spectacle. An object was flying very slowly in a due east direction above and to the port, left, side of our paddle boat. It was so strange, I called the attention of the passengers to this object. There were about 15 people on the upper deck, all of whom had a perfectly clear view of the object simply by looking up, and approximately 30 more on the lower, covered deck. Most of those on the lower deck went to the port side windows to stare up at the object. I'm not very good at estimating heights, but this object flew above the spotty clouds at what I thought was no more than a few thousand feet. The entire object appeared about the size of a dime held at arm's length. The leading edge of the object was a large, very bright red, glowing circular spot. Immediately behind that was a rectangular light, about 3 times as long as the spot, which was an even brighter, orange glow which scintillated and looked very much like an open flame. All I could see were the lights, neither of which pulsated or flickered other than the flame-like action of the orange body. We could see no wings or visible superstructure. The craft was shaped like a fat, red and orange exclamation point traveling point first. It left no smoke or vapor trail. Some of the passengers said they thought it was a helicopter, a hang glider, or an ultralight, so the captain stopped the boat and turned off the paddle wheel completely. We could hear no sound of any kind from the object even though it was almost directly overhead. We had the object in sight for at least a minute, but no longer than 2 minutes. It continued due east, never changing its direction or rate of speed until it was out of sight of us, a mile or so east of the lake. I finished my show, and had a talk with the captain. He said when he first saw it from the wheelhouse, he thought it was a missile, though he could not explain the large red, leading edge light. Neither the captain nor I reported the incident. I don't know if any of the passengers did. 4 days later, I started to tell this story to some people at a retirement home where I was performing, and immediately one of the employees came out of her office and told me that her son saw the same object fly over the airport, an Air Force training base, in featuring Wayne, Indiana, about 40 miles due east. I asked her to describe what he saw and his description was identical to mine.
Occurred the 12th of September 2013, 0 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location: Pierceton, IN, USA. Shape: other duration: 3 minutes. No of observers. 1 characteristics: aura or haze around object floating. Spinning pyramid flies into my home, leaving entrance and exit marks in the window. The floating spinning tetrahedron. September 2013. The incident happened about 3 weeks ago. The whole family was asleep and my son and his cousins had fallen asleep in the bedroom while playing the GameCube. I fell asleep in the living room on the floor. I remember waking up and being fully awake. I could not see the clock, so I did not know the time, but it was late at night and past 1 a.m. because I had fallen asleep at about that time after checking on the children. I was fully awake and noticed that a light was coming in from the kitchen window. I didn't think anything was amiss at first until I realized the light was becoming brighter and was an intense shade of blue. It was then a spinning tetrahedron, pyramid-shaped, entered in through the window. It passed right through the window. It was spinning very fast and was about the size of a Rubik's Cube, that I am sure we all have played with at one time. I know it was blue and was also emitting a blue light, but I remember I could not see the light emanating from the pyramid, but it seemed to be the source. Sort of like looking at the light from a flashlight, but the light is coming from outside the flashlight. It was really strange. I started to feel afraid, especially for the children, when in my head I heard, "Do not be afraid, we will not harm you or your house." I was no longer afraid, but I could not move. I don't know if from shock or if something was stopping me, but I did not move. The pyramid then went slowly past the doorway and into the bedroom, where the boys were, and I could not see it, but I could see the blue light. Then after what seemed to be only a few seconds, it came back into the doorway and into my field of view, and went out the window again. I could see the light fading from the window. It was moving away and up. I seemed to gather my senses back and leapt up from the floor and bolted into the bedroom. I made sure they were all breathing and sleeping. Everything was fine, so I ran back to the window hoping to get a glimpse of this thing again, but it was gone. I then went back to my bed on the floor and lie down and fell asleep so fast I am sure I broke some kind of record. I did not even dream anymore that night. I guess I just soaked the experience into my brain. I do remember, vividly, that now, as I looked at the pyramid as it was spinning and bobbing, it looked exactly like a Star of David, if you can believe that. A few weeks after the flying, spinning pyramid incident, something caught my eye in the window where it came in. I noticed that the window was deformed, for lack of a better term at the moment. The first 3 photos show the window and you can barely make out the pyramid-shaped indentations where it left its mark. The last 3 photos are from an idea I had of giving it a background, roughly the same color, using a shirt of mine, lol. The effect was rather weird. Take a look. As with anything of this nature, take it with a grain of salt, but it still occupies my thoughts a lot, as the window pane is still there and I look at it daily, lol. This is, by far, the strangest series of events that happened to me, but I don't think it will be the last, lol, lucky me.
Occurred, the 28th of October 2002, 19 hours 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location, Syracuse, IN, USA. Shape, light duration, couple hours. No of observers. 10 characteristics, aura or haze around object, electrical or magnetic effects. Something weird happened. They were blue, white, kind of grey-blue, danced around each other. Sometimes they followed each other, other times they just danced around, like they were playing. They would come together and go apart. Sometimes there were 2 and 3, and then there would be 6 at a time. Then at one time a really big one and the little ones kind of danced around the big one. We only seen the big one one time in about 2 hours time. They were fast. When we tried to use a camera, the batteries acted like they were dead, so we went and called someone to bring a video camera and it went dead. Also very strange, we checked the batteries and they were working in a Game Boy after this happened because we thought they were dead, but they were not. The sky was cloudy and the lights just danced like they were playing with each other. It was weird. We have seen this not only once but a few times. And on Sat 20 it was about 4 or 5 p.m. My nephew and son was standing outside and playing on the porch. They were looking up at the sky. They started to yell, so my mum went outside to look. It was light outside. There was this thing in the sky. It looked like lightning was coming out of the bottom of it. It was round in shape. It was there for about 5 minutes. And the lightning disappeared and then the thing disappeared real fast. She has never seen anything like it before. She said it wasn't a plane or anything like that because it moved really fast.
Location, Syracuse, IN, USA. Shape, circle. Duration, few minutes. No of observers. 5 huge red glowing round objects traveling horizontally at a high rate of speed with no sound sitting on the back of our boat at Main Channel Marina in Syracuse, Indiana on August 15, 2009 at about 10:45 to 11 p.m. My husband, my granddaughter and myself along with 2 men on other boats witnessed a huge round red glowing object come up over the tree line traveling horizontally over us, and as it traveled away from us the object totally went black and disappeared. There was no sound and it was traveling at a high rate of speed. It was so glowing it almost looked like it was on fire. We were discussing that it was the most bizarre thing we had ever witnessed when 2 more objects exactly like the first one came over the tree line and traveled the same path as the first one. As they went over and traveled away from us, they totally disappeared at the same spot as the first one. Wonder if anyone else saw the same thing.
Occurred the 10th of July 2010, 21 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds local location, Syracuse, in, USA. Shape, teardrop duration, plus or minus 15 minutes. No of observers. 3 orangey pink orb that appeared to have a bright flame burning inside traveled over a lake SW to NE in a straight line. We are out in the yard at the shore of a lake. When we looked up, there was a round, orangey pink orb that looked as if there was a bright flame at the bottom of the orb. The orb moved from southwest and traveled northeast across the lake in what looked at a deliberate, straight line, leaving no tail. It seemed to be at the height that a small aircraft would travel. There was no sound. As it got halfway across the lake, it entered the clouds and was gone. About 15 minutes later, it happened again, identical in appearance, height, direction, speed, etc. We didn't see it the rest of the evening.
Occurred the 1st of March 2018, 19 hours 3 minutes and 0 seconds local location, Syracuse, in, USA. Shape, chevron duration, 5 minutes. No of observers. 1 I was driving west on 1000 and it was flying parallel to me and keeping up with me. It was V-shaped with 4 lights on each side. I came to an intersection of 500 and 1000 to a stop sign. I stopped and it did as well. I rolled down my window and it turned 90 degrees and flew over my car and away.